Estate Podcast, but I will tell you we're changing our names after the very first podcast, episode 2, name change already. But we're changing it to the real state of real estate because it's not just going to be about property management anymore. We're going to try and make it a bit more broad across all of real estate. However, today's one is about property management, so not too much is changing. Today we're talking about what property management fees you should pay in Perth, and Kayla is back on board for this podcast. Welcome, Kayla.
Thank you. I've been away for a month.
Just had a nice, well-deserved holiday in Africa, where she did a safari, which was looked really nice.
Yes, it was amazing. Highly recommend.
All right, and we've also got a fresh face on the podcast today, Alison McLeod. She's our Investor Services Manager, so welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, it's good to have you. Yeah, it's good to have a new face. I think you'll be a regular face soon.
Oh, hopefully, if today goes well.
Yeah. Do you want to tell everyone what you do at Davey?
Yeah, so I look after investor services. So basically that's onboarding any new rentals to the portfolio and working with landlords to get their properties ready for advertising and working with them until we secure a great tenant.
Yeah. And before you did that role, what were you doing before that?
So, yeah, before investor services, I was a property manager. So I've been working in real estate for just over 7 years. Basically been in property management the whole time. So it's definitely helped me in this role, I guess, having a full understanding of property management and any questions that landlords might have. I feel like I've got the answer to hopefully a lot of them. Yeah,
it's really good. It's a very unique, background to have when you go into a business development role like the investor services because, you've dealt with it before. So the landlords can have complete faith in you, and then the property managers on the other side of it, it's a really smooth handover with them.
Yeah, and that's something that I think we've noticed in probably the last 6 months. It's been a really smooth transition period for us as a team, but also the landlords, they're not noticing it sort of as much, which is really good.
Yeah, it's really good.
So if you have any spare properties that you'd like to bring on, Alison's your girl.
She is your girl.
Hit me up.
Yeah, we'll add her mobile number somewhere, wherever you're getting this podcast. We'll have it there. All right, Kayla, do you want to talk about what we're getting into today?
Yes, so today we're talking about something very important, which is what property management fees should you be paying in Perth? Yeah, so understanding what property management fees you should be paying can be really confusing and complex. So that's what we're here to talk to you about today.
Yeah.
And what you should be paying, what kind of fees you'll be paying, and everything to do with that process.
Yeah, and with so many different fee structures and fee types, it's easy to be a bit confused and unsure about what you should pay with your money and what fees you should be paying in Perth especially.
Yeah, and it's one thing that's not regulated in real estate. So agencies can charge really whatever they think they're worth for being your property manager. Yeah. So it's really important to know what questions to ask and to know what to look for. And I think if you have a better understanding of what each of the fees are and what's considered normal or standard, then it sort of gives you a bit of a guide when you're comparing other agencies.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the main fee that everyone talks about is the management fee.
Yeah, absolutely.
And different structures that'll be just the management fee, or it will have other different fees associated with it. But this fee generally covers rent collection, issuing notices, preparation of statements, payment of accounts, arrangement of maintenance, invoicing and collection of outgoings such as water and utilities. And across Perth, that can really range. What do you reckon the ranges are?
Oh, anywhere from maybe 7% to 10%.
Yeah.
But it really does depend on the agency and what their fee structure is, because we'll go into it in a bit more depth, but you could have an all-inclusive management fee where it's just the one fee each month, no other fees. Otherwise, some other agencies offer a different fee structure where you've got maybe a lower management fee, but you've also got ancillaries, which we'll touch on in a little bit. But anywhere from 7 to 10%, I would say, is a pretty standard management fee.
Yeah, I think the difference is in that range that you can pay is usually got something to do with the experience of the property manager, the agency, the location, and the experience that the agency has in dealing with those types of whatever type of property you have, as well as potentially the software that the company uses. Obviously, softwares can be quite expensive, but it could mean that your property is better managed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So just going into that a little bit further and speaking more on the management fee that you pay for a property manager, it's really unlikely to get an experience and efficient senior property manager that will manage your property under that percentage.
Yeah.
So there's quite a few property managers out there that will call themselves senior property managers without having the experience. However, at Davey, you have to have at least 6 years plus to be considered a senior property manager, which if you've got one, you'll notice it on their email signature. And we have really talented people here, but we feel it's really important to recognise when people have those experience and their skills. Absolutely. So that's just something to keep an eye out for as well. And it's also a really important question to ask of the company and the property manager, how long they've been managing properties for.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is important. And you know what, you might get a property manager that can, is amazing, that might have only been doing it a year. And that does happen. We have a few. They're great. And yeah, a senior property manager is so good because they've seen it all. They've seen, different markets. They've seen, different things, inspections, and they've dealt with a lot of different kind of scenarios. Whereas, someone that's a little bit less experienced, they may be absolutely incredible. We've got some, property managers at Davey that have not had that much experience, but they're so good at their jobs. But they've got a team around them that's really experienced. And I think that, has a lot to show for it as well.
Absolutely.
Another important fee that we need to consider is the leasing fee. So, Alison, I'll let you discuss that one and tell us what that is.
Yeah, so the leasing fee is charged when we're leasing the property out. So it includes us doing the home opens, the application process, and finding a great tenant for your property.
Yeah, that's right. And, it's with the applications and everything like that, it's a lot of work.
It definitely is.
It's a lot of work. Doing the home opens, showing all those people through, and especially in a tight rental market, it can be, we might get 30 applications on a property. So there's a lot to it. We've got really good systems in place to help speed things along. But you still have to make phone calls. You still have to make sure that you're doing your due diligence and finding you a great tenant.
People as well aren't always truthful on their application.
No, they're not.
So
they're not.
As property managers, we've got to weed through that because we can't just take an application at face value.
We're detectives.
We definitely are.
We're detectives.
We
have
have
to
good
do a little
stories
bit
to
of
tell as
digging.
well.
Yeah, we need like little magnifying glasses.
Yeah. So making sure that we verify what people put on applications and the information that we're giving to landlords is accurate so that they can make a decision on who they want to put in their property.
Yeah. What's a standard leasing fee?
2 weeks rent plus GST.
Yeah.
I'd say it's pretty standard in Perth.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's, when you're, that's for when you have a new tenant moving into a property.
Yes.
So now we're going to talk about the lease renewal fee. So this occurs when you've got either a long-term tenant that's renewing their contract. So they might sign up for a year at the beginning, you've paid a leasing fee, and now it's lease renewal time. And, some people do think it's just as simple as just saying, hey, sign a new 12-month lease. But again, so much work goes into it.
A lot of work involved.
So much work goes into it. Things like doing negotiations with the tenant. So it's not just as simple, again, especially in a tight rental market when we're, maybe increasing rents. We've got to do comparative market analysis, show that to the landlord, negotiate with the landlord on what, a good price would be for the tenant, like a market value, and also to be fair to the tenant, because owners don't want to hike it up, as much as it possibly could and potentially lose a really good tenant. So it's all about educating as well.
Yeah, and also proactive communication, which I feel our team is really, really good on.
Yeah.
And it's really important to ensure that the proactive communication is going both ways, which is quite a challenging job sometimes for a property manager because you are the person in the middle.
Yeah, absolutely. So some other common fees in Perth are admin fees, which usually range from about $10 to $13 per month. Marketing charges, to advertise the property online, get full lease signs up and things like
Professional
that.
photos.
Professional photos, yeah. An annual financial summary and quarterly inspection fees. So they can range anywhere from $66 to $88 per quarter. Mm-hmm. So now we're going to take you through the different type of management fee structures that we have at Davey, and which are quite common throughout the industry. I don't think it's just at Davey. And I'll let Alison take that away.
Yeah, so at Davey we offer 3 different fee structures. We've got the all-inclusive, the hybrid fee structure, and also the traditional. Traditional is probably arguably the most popular.
Yeah.
It does have a slightly lower management fee each month, and then you also pay ancillaries on top of that, which most of them get charged when we're finding a tenant initially.
Yeah.
So depending on if you're a landlord that's just looking to rent out your property for 12 months or it's going to be potentially like a 10-year investment property for you, it depends which fee structure you're going to choose because it'll end up costing you maybe a little bit more in the long run, and it just depends what your sort of plans for the property are.
Yeah, and an ancillary fee, if you don't know what that is things like we were just talking about. So admin fee, inspection fee, advertising.
Yeah, all your little ones that are added on to the main management fee, which is ongoing and it gets paid out monthly.
Yep.
So your ongoing ones really are your monthly management fee, your monthly admin fee, and routine inspections.
Yep.
Routine inspections get charged 4 times a year. That's legally how many we're allowed to conduct.
Yep.
So every 3 months, if you're happy for us to conduct an inspection, that's how often you'll be getting charged that fee.
And you don't have to do every for a year, I think it is, yeah, like I said.
Yep.
You don't have to do for a year, but we do recommend it just to make sure that the tenant is looking after the property. It's just a good routine to have.
Yeah, and making sure that we're, keeping on top of maintenance as well, because it's such an important part of our jobs when we're doing inspections.
Yeah.
Making sure that we're spotting things that maybe tenants wouldn't.
Well, yeah.
It's, for a lot of them, obviously, it is their home, but they might not have that eager eye just to look and be like, oh, there's a bit of mould on that eave or something like that. So that's something that, we make sure that we look for.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of things can happen in just 3 months. So if it goes a bit longer, a lot of things can happen in 6 months.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's really important to make sure that you're getting them done.
Yeah, and I've heard that, I don't think our tenants feel like this, because we encourage them to report maintenance if there is any. But I think, across the industry it's been said that tenants can sometimes be afraid to report maintenance. So inspection time is a good time for us to go out there and see it, and then, like you said, kind of investigate it ourselves. So another type of fee structure is our all-inclusive, which usually ranges from about 14 to 18%. It's a simple flat rate fee that's only charged on the rent collections. There's no extra fees, and there's no leasing fee, lease renewal fee, like those fees we were talking about before. And it's really important that when you're looking for an agent to find out that it is definitely just that flat fee and nothing else is going to creep in later.
Fees.
No hidden fees. You just want to make sure it's just that one, because it is a higher percentage. It's not like your traditional that Alison was just talking about then. You are paying more out of your rent that's being collected each week, but everything's bundled into one. There's no surprises.
Exactly.
It can be way easier to, have that all bundled up, because then it's just easy to work out with your finances as well.
Yeah, some people just like to see that one amount coming out each month.
Yeah.
And it's easy for them to budget with, and, depending on whether you've got a tenant that might move out or, potentially break their lease as well, like their circumstances can change.
Yeah.
So no matter what changes in the tenancy, you're getting charged the same monthly fee, which for some people they really like, and for others, they don't, and that's why we offer multiple fee structures.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so the third option that we have is a hybrid fee structure, which involves a management fee and 1 or 2 other fees separated throughout. So this is a really good structure that works well for clients that have a lot of high turnover tenancies in place. So the hybrid management fee can be anything from 10 to 14%. Depending on what other services are complementary. So an example may be 12% plus letting fees and court fees, and that's all you pay throughout your management.
Yeah, and you'd only pay court fees if you were to go to
Correct.
court.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then the leasing fee or the letting fee, which are the same thing, that's only if you're getting a brand new tenant.
Exactly.
So if you've got a long-term tenant, the lease renewal fee doesn't apply in that kind of structure.
In that situation.
Yeah.
So that brings us to our next question. Which one is best? Generally, I would say they probably all wash out to be a similar amount each year. So it really just depends on your circumstances, and I think what's going to work best for you.
Yeah.
Like we touched on, some people like the all-inclusive just because it's simple, it's easy. You see the one amount, there's no surprises. But in saying that, a lot of people will go with the hybrid or the traditional, because if you're not having a high turnover of tenants and you do get long-term tenants, it's probably going to work out a bit more economical for you.
Yeah.
So, I can talk that through with you and just sort of see, which fee structure is going to suit your scenario.
Yeah, absolutely. So is there a way that landlords can save on property management fees in Perth? Like, is there a sneaky little trick, a little insight you can give us?
Look, potentially if you've got multiple investment properties, that's definitely going to be a way to save on your management fees. Agencies, I'm sure, want the business. So if you do have multiple rental properties that you're looking to lease out, I'm sure 99% of agencies are going to offer a more competitive rate. But in saying that, I'd be very cautious in making sure that your decision on who you're going to actually have as your property manager isn't just fee-based.
Absolutely.
As much as that's what we've waffled on about today.
Yeah.
It's not the most important thing when making that decision. You want someone that you trust to give you the right advice. And, property management's really difficult to foresee, I guess, what's going to happen throughout a tenancy. You can be thrown some real curveballs. So you need someone that you can trust and someone that is going to give you the right advice when the time comes.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is really important because, the difference between, a higher management fee compared to a lower management fee in the rent in like a $500 a week.
It could be $3 a week.
Literally.
It really...
It's not a lot.
Yeah, 100%. So you just, as much as fees definitely come into it, and, don't be afraid to ask the question, I suppose, if you're having a conversation with, someone like myself or a property manager, but just don't make that the be-all and end-all of why you make a decision on who you're going to choose as your property manager.
Yeah, get a right feel for the person and also check their Google reviews. That says a lot. That's open to everyone. Anyone can write a Google review. So it gives a true insight into what the agency's like.
Yeah, it's definitely a good idea and one of the things you should be doing when you're looking at agencies.
Absolutely. Well, that's a wrap. Thanks, both of you.
Thank you.
Being
Thanks
on the
for having
pod
me.
today. It was a good one. It was definitely a good one. So if any of our listeners would like a little bit more information on Davey's fees and average costs, feel free to reach out to Alison.
Yeah, definitely. So if you've got any questions, my mobile number is 0411 110 776. Give me a call and I'm sure I'll be able to help.
Amazing. All right, that's it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Bye. Bye.